Imagine you're walking through the suffocating rainforest of the Piton Basin down in Guatemala.
Oh yeah, the humidity alone is just brutal.
Exactly. I mean, every single step is a battle against thick vines. And suddenly your machete clinks against solid rock. You brush away, centuries of moss, and there it is, a massive stone face just staring right back at you.
It's such a classic image.
Right. For over a century, that was the prevailing narrative. I mean, we absolutely love the romance of a vanished civilization. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today, we are looking at some incredible source material archaeological documentaries, historical encyclopedias, and this wild new LiDAR research data.
Which completely changes everything we thought we knew.
It really does, because popular culture loves to paint the Maya in this really dark, mysterious light.
Yeah.
Overgrown ruins and Hollywood-style exaggerations of, massive human sacrifice.
Yeah, the ultimate Hollywood myth. The idea that these were just empty ghost towns built by mysterious people who suddenly vanished into thin air.
But our mission today is to move past those myths, right?
Right.
We want to explore and actually celebrate the vivid reality of their culture, their art, their dance, the religion.
Because the reality that our sources point us toward today is so much more complex. And frankly, it's far more impressive.
So let's start with the biggest misconception right out of the gate.
The whole vanishing act. Yeah, here is a paradigm-shifting fact from the sources to hook you right in. The Maya civilization. They never actually vanished.
Wow, wait, never?
No, not at all. Today, over 8 million Maya still live in their ancestral lands across Central America, and they speak over 30 distinct Mayan languages.
8 million. That is incredible. I mean, it really shatters that whole illusion of a dead civilization.
They survived. And to understand the sheer scale of that survival, we have to completely recalibrate our understanding of what a Maya city actually looked like at its peak.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I know the sources talk a lot about LiDAR.
Right, the laser scanning.
Yeah. Archaeologists recently flew over that same Piton Basin, and they fired billions of laser pulses through the canopy, and the return data is it's mind-blowing.
It really is. When we look at the LiDAR data for a city like Tikal, we're not looking at, a small ceremonial center where a king lived while a few peasants farmed nearby.
Right, because the jungle wasn't hiding a few hidden buildings. The microtopography revealed over 60,000 previously undocumented structures in a single sweep.
Exactly. We are looking at a sprawling urban landscape the size of modern Guatemala City. Researchers now estimate Tikal and its immediate surroundings could have supported up to 3 or 4 million people.
3 or 4 million people. The population density is staggering. We are talking about 80 to 120 people per square kilometer in some of these centers.
Which is massive for the ancient world.
It rivals the population density of modern-day France. Just imagine an ancient Manhattan entirely integrated into a rainforest.
And, if you have a population of millions, that old binary idea we're taught, the whole ultra-rich kings and thousands of starving peasants, it just doesn't mathematically hold up.
Right, you need infrastructure, you need administrators, artisans, all of that.
Which brings us to a fascinating site in the Yucatan region called Quiwich. Archaeologists using LiDAR data located an area there they dubbed the Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven, I love that.
Yeah, and when they excavated it, they didn't just find modest peasant huts. They uncovered a massive 9 to 10 room stone mansion.
Okay, wow, a 10-room mansion.
Yes, but the crucial detail, the thing that's fascinating here, is that this complex did not belong to royalty.
Wait, hold on. So we are always taught that ancient worlds were just elites and peasants. But it sounds like you're saying the Maya had the equivalent of, a 9th century suburban McMansion.
That's exactly what it was.
Was there actually an ancient Maya middle class living the dream? Because if they find a massive stone mansion, couldn't that just be a minor royal summer home? Or a cousin of the king?
That's a great question. How do archaeologists actually look at a ruin and determine, yes, this is a commoner rather than nobility?
Right. How do they know?
It all comes down to the material culture, the trash and the tools left behind. In a royal compound, you expect to find ceremonial scepters, intricate jade ear spools, highly imported luxury goods.
Sure, the fancy stuff.
Exactly. But at the Stairway to Heaven, they found none of that. Instead, the artifacts were entirely utilitarian.
Like farming tools.
Yes, extensive agricultural tools and storage vessels. They found dozens of metates. Those are the heavy stone slabs used to grind corn.
Oh, wow. So they were basically just really successful farmers.
Highly prosperous farmers or skilled workers. They had enough surplus wealth to acquire land, build substantial stone homes, consume a rich diet, but they were fundamentally commoners.
So wealth and prosperity were spread across almost half the population in these areas. It was a thriving society with upward mobility.
It completely reshapes our understanding of their social structure.
It does, but, thinking about millions of prosperous people living in this environment, it immediately brings up a terrifying logistical question.
Water.
Yes. The Yucatan Peninsula is essentially a giant karst limestone sponge. When it rains, the water just seeps right through the porous rock into underground aquifers.
There are almost no major surface rivers.
Right. So how on earth do you hydrate a population the size of modern France on a dry limestone shelf?
It requires an immense, highly coordinated engineering effort. You can't just have independent farmers hoping for the best. You need centralized infrastructure.
And according to the sources, their solution was the Chultun, right?
Yes, massive man-made underground cisterns. To build one, Maya engineers had to bore through the hard cap rock on the surface, hollow out the softer limestone underneath to create a massive subterranean chamber, and then line the entire thing with a thick, waterproof stucco.
And a single Chultun could hold around 10,000 gallons of rainwater.
10,000 gallons, it's incredible.
They were literally capturing the heavy seasonal downpours to keep multiple families alive through months of brutal, blistering drought.
Exactly. And the agriculture was just as precarious. They relied heavily on slash-and-burn farming, clearing sections of the jungle, burning the vegetation to return nutrients to the thin soil.
But the yield for that is incredibly low, isn't it?
Very low. By some estimates, one Maya farmer using these methods could only produce enough food to feed about 5 people.
Wow. Compare that to today, where modern industrial farming allows one farmer to feed around 150 people.
Right. So to keep millions of people alive on a waterless limestone shelf with those kinds of agricultural margins, it requires immense coordination of labor.
Someone had to mandate the building of those cisterns and coordinate planting schedules.
Enter the centralized authority.
Yeah.
The Ku'ulajah, the divine king.
Oh, we have to look at the Maya king differently than, say, a European monarch. Right?
Absolutely. The Ku'ulajah wasn't just a secular ruler or a political administrator. He was the literal mediator between the mortal world and the divine. The entire political system relied on an implicit promise.
Okay, so the people support the king's lavish lifestyle. They provide the massive labor force to build the palaces and farm the food.
And in return, the king performs the sacred rituals that convince the gods to keep the rain falling and the corn growing.
So the king is essentially acting as the chief meteorologist.
That's a great way to put it.
If the rains don't come, he doesn't just lose an election, he loses his divine legitimacy. That is a lot of pressure.
A tremendous amount of pressure. And it made public performance absolutely vital to maintaining political stability. The rituals, the dances, and yes, sometimes limited small-scale sacrifices.
Which completely explains why mastering the cosmos wasn't just some abstract academic hobby for them. It was literally a matter of national security.
They needed absolute precision to know exactly when to plant and when to harvest, because the king needed to ensure those rains came.
And that desperation for precision birthed some of the most spectacular astronomical achievements in human history. I mean, let's talk about El Castillo.
The Temple of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza. It is a masterpiece.
It really is. It functions as a massive three-dimensional stone calendar. The math encoded in that pyramid is just brilliant.
Oh, absolutely.
It has 4 sides, right? And each side has 91 steps. If you multiply 91 by 4, you get 364. Add the top platform as the final step, and you have 365, the exact number of days in the solar year.
And it's not just a static monument. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, the angle of the sun casts a jagged shadow down the northern staircase.
And it aligns perfectly with a carved stone serpent head at the base. It looks exactly like a massive descending feathered snake.
It is the ultimate theatrical broadcast.
Yeah.
Imagine tens of thousands of people gathered in the plaza, watching the divine serpent descend from the heavens.
A perfectly timed sign to start agricultural work.
Exactly. It proved to the people that the king was successfully managing the cosmos. But their obsession with time went so much deeper than just a single solar year.
Right, because they operated with multiple interlocking calendars, like gears of a cosmic clock.
Yes, you have the 365-day solar calendar, the Hab, and a separate 260-day sacred calendar called the Solkin.
And because those run concurrently, a specific combination of days will only repeat once every 18,980 days, which mathematically translates to exactly 52 solar years.
Precisely. Every 52 years, the two calendars synchronized. To the Maya, This was a terrifying and highly vulnerable cosmic reset.
So how do you mark a cosmic reset of that magnitude? The sources have a wild architectural fact for this. They built their pyramids like Russian dolls.
Yes, instead of tearing down an old temple, they would construct a brand new, larger pyramid directly over the old one.
To prevent pillaging and to physically manifest the start of a new 52-year era?
It's a profound representation of their cosmology. Their universe was entirely vertical, connected by what scholars call the axis mundi.
The center of the world.
Right, and at the very bottom, deep underground, were the cenotes, those natural limestone sinkholes filled with water. They were sacred portals to the underworld, Xibalba.
And there is this beautiful metaphor from the sources about those caves. They viewed the stalactites dripping water as the breasts of the earth.
Providing nourishment, yes.
And the stalagmites rising from the floor were the phallus. And when they finally met to form a solid column, it symbolized the earth copulating to create life.
It's incredible symbolism. And stretching from those watery depths of the underworld straight up into the heavens was the sacred ceiba tree.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. They didn't just build observatories to do passive science. They weaponized their astronomy.
They absolutely did.
The way they viewed Venus, for example. To the Romans, Venus was the glowing symbol of love. But to the Maya, Venus was a harbinger of war, basically in ancient Star Wars.
They meticulously tracked the synodic period of Venus, and they used those specific planetary alignments to dictate exactly when to launch military campaigns.
It's so calculated. The stars literally commanded the armies, but, I want to make sure we don't paint them entirely as these grim, nervous astronomers constantly plotting wars.
Right, because they had a rich, vibrant culture filled with joy.
Exactly. The sources heavily emphasize the arts, the celebration, and these fiercely competitive sports.
One of the most revealing artifacts is the vase of the seven gods. The hieroglyphics on it describe how the Maya would drink thick, rich, hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, I love that detail.
Yeah. They drank it to commemorate joyful milestones, like the successful planting of a new cacao grove or the birth of a royal prince.
It instantly humanizes them. And their sports were incredible. They played a ceremonial ball game called Pakatak.
Using a heavy, solid rubber ball.
Which is wild because the only way you get a bouncing rubber ball is through vulcanization. A chemical process the Maya figured out centuries before Europe even had rubber.
It's brilliant indigenous chemistry. They mixed raw latex with the juice of a specific morning glory vine. The amino acids cross-link the polymers, transforming brittle sap into durable rubber.
And playing the game was brutal. You couldn't use your hands or feet, only your hips, shoulders, and head.
And it was a deeply religious reenactment. According to the Popol Vuh, their sacred text, the hero twins descended into the underworld to play against the Lords of Death.
So every game was a cosmic recreation of that battle, and the culture surrounding all of this was just bursting with color. The sources talk about a recent discovery in Chajul, Guatemala.
Oh, the murals in Don Lucas's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
A local man just casually renovating his house peels back some colonial plaster and uncovers pristine Maya murals. They depict extravagantly dressed dancers in bird patterns and musicians playing flutes.
It really changes the vibe of this civilization, doesn't it?
Completely. We always hear about the dark, gory stuff because it sells movie tickets.
Right.
But the sources explicitly state that garish stories of human sacrifice were often European propaganda to justify stealing Maya land.
It's a vital historical corrective. Did they practice sacrifice? Yes, like nearly every ancient civilization. But even their warfare was highly ritualized.
The Axe Wars.
Exactly. These were ceremonial skirmishes involving a few hundred elite fighters. The objective was to capture specific noble prisoners for political leverage, not total destructive societal war.
So if they were this sophisticated mastering vulcanized rubber, building 60,000 structures, enjoying hot chocolate, we have to confront the elephant in the room.
The collapse.
Right. Why did a stonemason at Copan in 822 AD just drop his tools and leave a monument half-finished? Why are the great cities empty?
It traces directly back to that implicit promise between the king and the people. By the late 8th century, the region was hit by decades of severe drought.
And a Chultan cistern can keep you alive for a dry season, but it can't sustain a city through a decade of failed rains.
No, it can't. And there's a tragic ecological irony here. To build their magnificent cities, they needed millions of tons of waterproof stucco.
And the chemical process of making stucco requires burning limestone?
Yes. To produce just 1 ton of limestone cement, they had to burn roughly 5 tons of fresh green wood.
5 tons of wood for 1 ton of cement.
Exactly. So they are effectively clear-cutting the surrounding rainforest to build their pyramids.
And trees release water vapor into the atmosphere. When you chop down the jungle, the local climate gets hotter and drier.
It was a localized, human-made microclimate disaster that compounded a natural drought. The kings could no longer control the rain. The implicit promise broke.
So what does this all mean? Did they riot?
Actually, the people simply walked away. They decentralized. Later on, commoners returned to leave offerings, but they placed the monuments upside down because they could no longer read the script.
The knowledge of the script was gone, but the people weren't. It wasn't an apocalypse, it was a migration. They moved north and built new flourishing capitals like Mayapan and Chichen Itza.
This raises an important question. We really need to stop using the word collapse. It was a fracture, a transition, but not an extinction.
Because the true devastation came later, with the Spanish arrival.
That was the actual catastrophe.
They brought guns, horses, and invisible waves of disease. There is a heartbreaking quote from the surviving Maya text, the Chilumbalam. It says, "It was the beginning of tribute, the beginning of strife by trampling on people with horses, the beginning of robbery."
It's incredibly poignant. And the physical destruction was followed by cultural erasure. The Spanish bishop Diego de Landa ordered thousands of invaluable Maya screenfold books to be burned in a massive bonfire.
All their astronomy, advanced math, their history, just gone.
Today, only a few, like the Dresden Codex, survive. It is one of the greatest intellectual tragedies in human history.
But despite all of that, the drought, the Spanish conquest, the burning of their history, Tayasal, the last independent Maya city, didn't yield to the Spanish until 1697.
Almost 2 centuries after Columbus, they outlasted the Aztec and the Inca empires.
They really did. So the next time you drink hot chocolate or look up at the stars or hear about ancient history, remember the incredible ingenuity of the Maya.
The first landscapers, masters of zero, architects of the jungle.
Exactly. They adapted and survived. Today, those 8 million descendants are still playing the ancient ball game and passing down their heritage.
And, there is a profound final thought to take away from their cosmology.
Oh, what's that?
The Maya believed that time was strictly circular, that history literally repeats itself, and the future can be foretold by studying the past. When you look at their overgrown cities, abandoned when they push their environment to the absolute limit, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
If time truly is circular, what overgrown ruins of ours will future generations be laser scanning from the sky 1,000 years from now?
Wow. That is definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Maya civilization.